What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So as you can see, we've got the GTO rolled out here behind me, and we're going to be messing around with that a little bit today. We've got a few little bugs that we want to work out or try to figure out at least. One of them being the fuel pressure. It seems to be dropping when we get into a lot of boost. It should be climbing 1 pound of fuel pressure for every pound of boost because we have a 1-to-1 regulator. So that doesn't seem to be happening. In a video that I looked at from last week, it would go up to about 70 psi and then it looked like it was starting to drop. So I'm not sure if we're running out of pump or what the deal is. The car is on pump gas. We're just running regular 93, no additives, anything like that, and we are spraying water methanol. We use boost juice, but there's no reason that this thing should be running out of fuel, in my opinion. We've got a Walbro 525 pump in it with a hot wire kit, so it's getting direct battery voltage, and for where the car is at, I just don't think we should be maxing out that pump. But it's totally possible that we're making more power than I think. We haven't had this thing on the dyno. As a lot of you guys know, we've been street tuning this thing, which is basically what we're going to be doing today. We're going to take this thing out, do some data logs, and try to figure out our fuel pressure issue. I'm going to be watching the fuel pressure gauge and see if that drops. For those of you that don't know, this car we picked up as a completely gutted roller just under a year ago. It had nothing in it in the engine bay. The interior was bare, and we finally got this thing put all back together. It is a stock bottom end LS2 with LS3 heads, a BTR cam, and a Pro charger. Like I had already mentioned, it is on pump gas right now, but we are running boost juiced water methanol injection. So it does pretty well for what it is. And like I said, I'm not positive what it's making for power, but if we are maxing out that Walbro pump, we've got to be making around 700, maybe even a little bit more. So we're gonna go ahead and take it for a ride. We've also got another issue that we're gonna try to figure out today with the throttle pedal. When this one is a drive-by-wire car, because it's an 05 GTO, and when you take it for a ride, after a little while of driving, if you shut it down and then go to start it back up, the throttle pedal will let you rev it up to about 2,000 RPMs, and then anything after that, the pedal acts like it's not moving at all. So like if you stop to get gas or anything like that, you rev it up, when you go to take off, it'll go to 2,000 RPM, and that is all you can get out of it. So we're going to be data logging that as well when we get back and shut the car off, and we'll see if we can figure out anything there, whether it's in the tune or if we might have a problem with the throttle body. So we're going to try to figure both those issues out today, take this thing out, have a little bit of fun with it. But before we do that, I do have to throw some more pump gas in it, and we've also got to fill the water methanol tank in the trunk. So let's go ahead and get through the intro and jump right into today's video. Now that we've gotten through the intro, let's go ahead and throw some water meth in this thing and put some pump gas in it, and then we'll get it fired up and go take this thing for a ride. All right, we got fuel in this thing, got meth in it. Let's go ahead and hop in it and get this thing fired up. We'll get our data log started here. We use HP tuners, so I'm gonna go ahead, turn the key, connect to vehicle, let it do its thing, start scanning, and let's go ahead and hit the key. Alright guys, everything looks good. We're going to let this thing warm up here a minute. You hear it stumble when we first start it. That's because we are using speed density tuning, and with this car you've got to let it start up. You've got to let the computer fail the mass airflow sensor so that it'll switch over to speed density. So that's what you heard it do right there. Now we're just, like I said, gonna let this thing warm up and we'll go take it for a ride. Alright guys, so we are in the GTO. We're gonna go take this thing for a ride, see what we can log. Hoping we get a couple good spots up here so that we can jump on it and get this thing into some higher boost so that we can see if the fuel pressure is acting up like I think it is. I'm gonna mainly be watching the fuel pressure gauge today, so we might shift it a little bit earlier than normal, just because I'm not gonna be paying too much attention to the shift light and other things. So, mainly checking for the fuel pressure issue. Right around 70 psi there. I didn't notice anything strange with it. I thought it was going to go up and then start coming down, but it stayed right at 70. So we'll have to play around with it a little bit more and see what we're working with here. Probably a little bit hard for you guys to see because of the sun glare right now, but I was watching it, it went right up to 70 again, so maybe that's just where we're landing for boost. But we'll have to keep driving it and play around with it a little bit more. I think I noticed it come down. right guys, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you that dead pedal issue that I was talking about. So I'm gonna shut the car off for a second. We're gonna go ahead and save this log. So we're gonna stop it, and then we're gonna save it. All right guys, so now that we saved that log, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the key back on. We are still connected to the vehicle, so I'm gonna hit start scanning. Now we're gonna go ahead and start this thing up, and we're gonna see if it'll let me actually rev it up. See, I'm floored right here. This is with me completely floored. I don't know if you guys can see that in the log, but it's bouncing up to about 1600 RPM and coming back down. And it's saying that my accelerator pedal is at 100%, but throttle is only at 2430, 2430. And if I let out, it idles fine, and it just acts weird. It cuts in and out. So we're gonna go ahead and log this. I hit the throttle a couple times, and we will send it off. But it's weird because if I let it sit here and idle for another minute or two, eventually it'll just come back on its own and let me rev this thing up. So make sure I'm in neutral. I'll let out of the clutch. See, now it's fine. So that's weird. I'm gonna go ahead and save this one as well. Shut it off. We'll stop this one. So we went ahead and saved that one. Let's go ahead and disconnect from the vehicle. I'm gonna give this thing a once over once we get out. I'll pop the hood and just give it a once over like I always do while we are still getting this thing dialed in. And we will let it cool off for a little while.
All right guys, so it is the next day and I'm super excited. We were able to go to DMV this morning and finally get real plates for this thing. It's been on a temp plate, and since we bought it out of state and we do live in Connecticut, we had to bring it for a VIN check and emissions testing and a whole bunch of other stuff that you have to do to get something registered in Connecticut. But we were finally able to get it all taken care of, with appointments being over a month out and DMV is by appointment only right now. It really makes the whole process quite a pain, but we were able to get it done. As a lot of you guys know, the Hellcat, we have basically taken it off the road so that we can focus on getting that thing to go down the track straight and just get it aimed mainly at going to the track and not really worry about it on the street. So instead of worrying about losing the plate that we have for that car because it's a vanity plate, I was able to switch it over at DMV, so I'm super excited about that. We've got the new plate for the GTO right here, just like we used to have on the Hellcat. So we can go ahead and get this temp plate out of here and get a real plate on it. And this thing is finally legit and good to go. So let's get the plate swapped out. All right, so we got the plate on there. So let's go ahead and talk about the fuel situation. The car seems to be staying plenty safe as far as the air fuel ratio goes. We have the AEM wideband in there, and as far as that thing's concerned, it's got plenty of fuel, and it is actually a little bit on the rich side, so we can dial that back a little bit. But we're also spraying the methanol, so once it gets into, I think, 7 pounds of boost, the methanol system comes on, and we really don't want the car supported by the methanol. We want to use it more for cooling than for fueling. We want the car to be able to fuel itself off of its actual fuel system. But with that being said, I think the car would be fine for now, but I do plan to go E85 with this thing. We do have an E85 pump down the street, and I run Ignite Red in the Hellcat, so if we ever want to, we can mix up our own fuel. And it's definitely, even the pump E85 around here, which isn't all that great, is still going to be better than pump 93 in my opinion. I just think E85 is a superior fuel. Now, a lot of you guys might know, to run E85 you need roughly 30 to 33% more fuel system to accomplish the same goal. So with that being said, I think our best route is to just go ahead and throw a second pump in this thing. We're currently running the Walbro 525, but I do have a few 450s on the shelf because we put them in the Hellcat. They were in there for like a week or two, and we maxed that thing out on the dyno at 1320 wheel, so we had to step that up, and that car now has 3 Walbro 525s in it. So we've got these brand new pumps, and they're just sitting on the shelf collecting dust, so we might as well go ahead and throw them in. It will make the car a little bit safer for how it
it sits, and it'll also give us the capability to run E85 or a blend. We will do a flex fuel system on this thing so that we can run 93 still, but also E85 when we want to. And we will be keeping the methanol system, but like I said, I want to keep the methanol just for cooling, not so much for fueling. With that being said, we only need to get a few more parts to make this actually work. I need a wiper in the tank and some of that corrugated hose. I'll need a second hot wire kit so that we can wire in the second pump direct to the battery, running it and triggering it off of a Hobbs switch. Probably set it around 4 or 5 PSI, not 100% sure yet, but we'll figure that out when we get there. If you guys want to see the fuel system that's on this thing right now, you can go back on the channel. There's a couple fuel system videos on the GTO playlist. We've got one on when we modified the whole tank and basket so that we could run the return style fuel system. Then we've got another, I think, plumbing it, and one doing the hot wire kit. Also have the regulator and some other things in those videos as well if you guys want to check those out. So I think that's going to be the plan for now, guys. I think we're just going to go ahead, get a second pump in this thing. It seems to be running really strong, and with it being a stock bottom end, I just think E85 is the safest way to go to try to keep this thing alive for a little while till we decide what we want to do with the bottom end. So as always, guys, I appreciate you for checking out the channel. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell so that you get notified anytime we put out a video with the GTO, the Duramax, or the Hellcat, and we will catch you on the next one.